Well, what about Shepard? Earthborn, but no record of his family.
Doesn't have one. He was raised on the streets, learned to look out for himself.
He saw his whole unit die on a cruise. He could have some serious emotional scars.
Every soldier has scars. Shepard's a survivor.
Is that the kind of person we want protecting the galaxy?
That's the only kind of person who can protect the galaxy.
I'll make the call.
Before we get into anything, I need to address the elephant in the room. This isn't my own gameplay. This is gameplay that I had to get off YouTube. And obviously their links will be in the description and also on screen as I'm editing this. I haven't found the clips as I'm narrating this, but I know that I have to do it anyways because of the EA app. Now, if I'm being candid, I'm not the biggest hater of the EA app. I don't really care that much. However, it did affect Mass Effect. I can't get back to the game. So usually how the process goes is when I decide the game that I want to review, I reinstall it, I play it for a little bit, and then I record some gameplay of it. But I can't do that in Mass Effect. I can't even load the game. It just goes to the EA app, and then the EA app says that there's a problem on their end that's stopping me from loading the game. So I had to make this workaround of getting alternate footage. So let's get back to the video. So I finally played Mass Effect Legendary Edition. And I'm gonna say this isn't even fair, to be honest. This is in my top 3 games of all time. There was just so much to this game. Let's just get into it. Is Mass Effect Legendary Edition worth it in 2025? You bet your ass it is, and let's talk about it. So, what is Mass Effect Legendary Edition? It's comprised of the original Mass Effect trilogy, which includes Mass Effect, Mass Effect 2, and Mass Effect 3, which covers a ton of hours of gameplay. If you're curious, my run of the Legendary Edition clocked out to about 80 hours. A friend of mine on Steam has done 2 runs, and he has about 120 hours. Usually I wait till the end to talk about the pricing, but I think it must be said now. Mass Effect Legendary Edition is around Witcher 3 in terms of value. It goes on sale for about $6. On the 24th of March, as I write this script, and then on the 27th as I'm recording this script, it is on sale for $6, when it's usually priced at $60. And I know $60 is a lot for a game, but this is 3 fully fledged, optimized, fully, developed games, so it's about $20 per game when it's at full price. And that's already pretty decent value. So 3 full games at $6 is incredible value when the average gameplay length will be about 80 to 100 hours for just one playthrough. The story and gameplay progression is probably my favorite for this game. The story is incredible across all 3 games and could warrant its own video in its entirety. It's simply super enriching and complex. If you like The Witcher 3 with your choices mattering and being an important character in the story, then you will love Mass Effect. It dots its I's and crosses its T's when it comes to a choice-based story. And even choices made in Mass Effect 1 will carry over and impact elements of Mass Effect 2 and 3. It's super fucking cool. Similar to Witcher 3, there's a lot of romance options for you, and with mods you can expand those options even more to other characters and get other romance options. If you're curious, I romanced Tali, and I got the best ending in Mass Effect 3. You can Google it if you're curious. I'm not going to show it here, obviously, because I try to make these spoiler-free as possible. And while we're talking about Tali, we have to talk about one of the main components of the gameplay of Mass Effect. It's the companions. There are people that you can bring with you onto missions, that you talk to, that are in your ship, your main hub, and they are incredibly complex, dynamic characters of their own. They go through their own arcs. They're very incredibly well written, and they add so much to the story. And even if they weren't there, the story would be pretty good, but with them, it just makes it top notch. But man, it was such a blast, and I'll likely be revisiting the entire trilogy sometime late this year just to experience it again. The side quests and activities are also fully fleshed out and present entirely new story elements that make the world seem so much bigger and lived in. Gameplay-wise, it plays like a third-person shooter with those companions that have different abilities, and you can build them in a way to your liking. If you're not sure how to build them, you can also look up the best builds for your character and also the companions as well, which is what I started to do when I got into Mass Effect 2 and 3. Oh yeah, and there's also classes that you choose in the beginning for your character. I started Mass Effect 1 as a Vanguard, kind of like a Paladin type character, and then in Mass Effect 2 and 3, I switched to a Sniper. There's a lot to the gear progression, but you don't really need to min-max and care too much about it to be able to progress. You can kind of diddle-dally your way through and still be fine, which is pretty much what I did. It might get a little difficult for you, but you don't need to constantly look up the best gear for your level and part of the story. So that's very accessible. Mass Effect 1 is definitely the weakest in terms of gameplay, which makes sense. It was the first in the series, and they were more so looking to developing the story. But in Mass Effect 2 and 3, the combat and progression gets a huge overhaul and is so much better in terms of the mechanics, while still involving a stellar complex story. So yes, Mass Effect Legendary Edition is worth it in 2025, and I think you'll have a hell of a time playing. I would definitely recommend it on sale, and I would even go as far to say I would recommend it at full price. But with how often it goes on sale, you should just get it on sale. $6 it's a steal to be getting it for that price. So yeah, I'll see you.